The need for more and better parks in our city is about quality of life, wellness, health, and family. Each park has its own personality, providing a wide array of services and amenities for all of our residents.
Hi, I'm Edward Rojas, your city manager. On November 6th, you will have the opportunity to vote on a bond referendum that will determine the future of our city's park systems.
So the way this came about was that about 3 years ago, we were doing an update to the master plan where we actually did workshops with the community. We did a survey that was statistically valid and asked the residents, what are your needs? What are your demands for your green spaces? The results that came out of the survey, the workshops, the stakeholder interviews, the focus groups were these projects: the aquatics facility, more indoor recreation space, the trail system network, enhancements to other facilities, to better security in our parks, more lighting on the trails, lighting for Trails and Tails Park. So the idea was, how do we fund all these projects? And that's where the conversation of a bond came about.
Bond referendums are used by local governments to fund major capital improvement projects. In this case, the city would pledge its full faith and credit, in other words, its taxing power, to repay the debt. The bond is very similar to a mortgage for a homeowner. It's a loan that we would pay over a period of 30 years that would allow us a funding mechanism to build and deliver numerous new recreation and leisure opportunities citywide much sooner than if we attempted to self-fund projects of this scale and magnitude. In previous years, projects have been paid in a pay-as-you-go manner, meaning that the money to pay for these projects came out of our coffers, or basically our reserves. For smaller projects, it works. It becomes less feasible for larger projects, such as what is being proposed in this bond referendum.
The Parks bond is $150 million it's a 30-year bond. It could be paid earlier, but that's the estimation. We know that things take time. We need to design these parks, we need to permit these parks, working with other agencies such as the state and the county. Going through a process is going to be about 1.5 years before there's actual shovels in the ground. Once the shovels are in the ground, after about 1.5 years or 2 years, it's going to take about 3 to 5 years to finish these projects. Doral Central Park, for example, will take 2 years to finish building out. So if we start in 2020, it'll finish sometime in 2022, 2023, just to give a reference point of a project. Some projects may finish a lot earlier. The cultural pavilion will finish in a year. It doesn't take that long because it's a smaller project. The trail system network will something that will be ongoing throughout this process. The enhancements to other facilities will be something that's also ongoing as well.
Should we elect to pay as we go, the park amenities that were identified as a priority in our parks master plan might take 15 to 20 years to build instead of the projected 7 years should the bond pass. Another very important factor to consider is the cost of construction today is much less than what it would potentially be in the future. The truth of the matter is that Doral is a growing community. Parks facilities that we currently have are faced with a need to expand to accommodate for that growth. The bond would allow us to bring forward planned projects tailored to suit the needs of our community sooner rather than later.
Typical homeowner is about $139 annually. That's the middle ground. But everybody's assessed value is different. It depends when you bought your property or how much your property cost, and it's not market value, it's assessed value after homestead exemption. This enhances the quality of life. This also increases property values by having better green spaces, having better parks. Will increase the property values anywhere between 5 to 20% increase in property values by having better amenities around them.
If Doral residents vote to pass the proposed bond, the city administration will establish a bond oversight committee made up of city staff, elected officials, and Doral residents that have experience with municipal financing, engineering, construction, and architecture. The oversight committee will monitor and review the implementation of the bond to further the city's efforts towards transparency. If the bond does not pass, some projects identified will likely be postponed or eliminated altogether because of the constraints and the challenges of self-funding such large projects. As a resident and neighbor of this community, my family and I have educated ourselves regarding this parks bond and evaluated our priorities. We ask only that you do the same with your family. City staff and I are here to answer any questions you might have.